The Human Optimization Podcast is proudly brought to you by Vicon Supplements, where quality meets sustainability. Vicon's all-natural supplements are handcrafted and sustainably produced in Canada, bringing you products that nourish both your well-being and our planet. Visit viconsupplements.com today and be a part of a greener, healthier future.
Are you ready to embark on a journey to the best version of you? Join me, Lisa Pitel-Killah, as I dive deep into the world of hair tissue mineral analysis and functional medicine with fellow experts, and guide you on the path of unlocking your full potential. As a multi-time kettlebell sport world champion, I'm on a mission to reach high-performance professionals from around the world to help you minimize tiring symptoms, maximize health, and gain unstoppable energy. This is the Human Optimization Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Human Optimization Podcast. You are going to love what's happening today, and I am too. I'm so excited. So, for those of you who follow my Instagram, you already saw my intro about the Holistic Facelift. So, let me tell you about the creator of that. Her name is Sophia Ha. She is Canada's leading face yoga expert. Yes, I said that right. Face yoga expert. And the creator, of course, of the Holistic Facelift. So for the last 8 years, she supported hundreds of women to refine and define and radiate their natural beauty through holistic techniques that lift your face from the inside out. And we're going to, for those of you watching on YouTube, we are going to show you how to do this today as well. With a background in journalism, Sophia's interest in exploring the depths of human experience fuels all that she does. She's deeply aware that every person has a unique story, face, and experience. Sophia's unique gift for making people feel seen has supported her mission to disrupt mainstream beauty ideals, which I love. And so residing in Toronto, so she's Canadian, she facilitates face yoga workshops and private lessons locally, abroad, and online. So you have all kinds of options to learn from Sophia. Now, I always love on the podcast to ask our guests to give a little background because there is a reason that we are here and there's a reason that you're here and there's a story behind that. And I always love starting off with a story. So first off, Sophia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited. Tell us how you got here. Give us a little background and tell us about you.
Yeah. So my journey actually started 12 years ago. I was 28 years old. I'm turning 40 in a couple of weeks. And I was going through quite a lot at that time. And I had decided to take a little bit of a journey inside as well as traveling the world. So essentially, I had decided to leave for Southeast Asia. I was starting out in Australia and I was going to be traveling for about a year and a half solo backpacking. And the reason that I was on this trip in the first place is because I'd been diagnosed with CPTSD, so complex post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as body dysmorphia disorder. And I had already, known I was experiencing constant anxiety and depression, and it was really intense. So, this move to head over to Southeast Asia across the world, first trip on my own was kind of a big thing for me.
Yeah.
So I actually started my trip in Australia, and then I moved over to Indonesia, which is where I initially found face yoga. But I'll backtrack for just a sec.
Cool.
So when I was living in Australia, I had developed really deep expression lines, really deep lines across my head.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, I was only 28. So it's kind of funny to think about in retrospect, right?
Absolutely.
But,
absolutely.
I was 28. And because of the body dysmorphia as well, those lines just became my center focus. I mean, every time I looked in the mirror, that was quite literally all I would see. And I already felt pretty bad enough about myself. So seeing those lines develop and then having, of course, the conditioned fear of aging really sent me down quite the spiral.
Right.
But I've always really been into holistic work and natural practices. Um, and so when I was living in Indonesia, so I went from Australia to Indonesia, there's all these medi spas around, and people were just kind of starting to do Botox and fillers more. And you're seeing,
Yep.
these young women go to these beautiful, very, five-star spas in Southeast Asia. It's a lot cheaper.
Yes.
But they're also really advanced in a lot of ways.
Right.
So long story short, that was never something that I was going to do.
Hmm.
So I started Googling, like everybody does, ways to get rid of lines naturally.
Hmm.
And essentially, I found face yoga after a couple days of doing some research,
Hmm.
and I was really skeptical. I was like, face yoga again. My background's in journalism. You mentioned that,
Yep.
so my tendency is to be super critical and really, really take a moment to research and look into the science behind things. And so as I began to research, I was like, all right, this kind of makes sense. We've got muscles in the body, we've got muscles in the face. There's tension in the
Hmm.
body, tension in the face. Okay, so I thought, all right, let me give it a go. And so I started practicing. And within, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks, the lines had almost completely disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah. So from that moment, I was hooked. But
Hmm.
really interesting part was the perception of myself as I did this work really began to change. So it really provided me a lot of deep healing and essentially somatic work, helping me to come back to myself. Which was, it's a continuous journey, as we all know, especially for those who've been
Absolutely.
through, a lot.
Hmm.
And so, long story short, I became certified as a face yoga coach.
Hmm.
Initially, I named my business Face Yoga Renew, and I started working with clients right away. And as I was teaching them face yoga, I was also simultaneously studying other holistic techniques: facial massage, fascial work, lymphatic system, acupressure, etc. And so I really started to bring all of these various techniques together. And I was noticing that not only were people looking better and noticing that about themselves, but they were really feeling better. They were feeling a lot more grounded, a lot less anxious.
Mm. Yep.
And this is what essentially bore the holistic facelift method.
That is amazing. Wow. And what a transformational journey, right? A lot of us have that background where we kind of internally fought with something within ourselves, right? And then found something that resonated where would then we could accept that and really start that self-healing journey,
Yeah.
right? And
And
that
there's
journey of discovery.
that's journey of discovery. I mean, I think the journey of discovery and the journey of healing is really one and the same.
Mhm.
We have so many biases and there's so much conditioning that we've all been, growing up with. Doesn't matter what culture, you grew up in. And so there's a lot of unpacking.
Yeah,
And certainly, when we go deep, it's not necessarily the easiest thing, but it is more invaluable, I think, than anything that we can do.
I agree. I agree. Well, and it's amazing to think about, and I want to talk about the relationship between beauty and aging.
Yeah.
So you said you're 40 now?
In about 4 weeks.
Okay, so
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 pretty
you're
much.
starting
You can call me 40. You can say I'm 40. Yes. I'm very
still
proud.
still 39, still 39. Well, and so you're kind of starting that 40s decade. I'm closing it down. I'm 52 now, right? And we all think about this, and it's funny because I always say people think about the number too much, right? This doesn't define who we are. It doesn't define what we can do, right? It doesn't define certain things. There's so many things that we can do, we can enjoy, and there's ways to support that, which is exactly, what you're talking about today,
Yes,
right?
yes. And
And
sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, especially when it comes to our relationship with beauty and aging, one of the
Hmm.
things that I am so vehemently trying to, shift the conversation around is that I personally don't believe that we lose our beauty as we age. I work with so many women that are much older than me,
Hmm.
in their 60s and their 70s, and I genuinely see them as beautiful. I think they're attractive. I really, really, really do. Um, And so it's a different kind of beauty. It's not the
Right.
youth. It's a different kind of beauty, but I really don't think it
Yeah.
takes away from our beauty or attractiveness or sexiness or anything. Do you look older? Yeah, of course, because you're living life. And we're
Hmm.
all going down the same path, right? We're all moving down the same path, which is eventually, essentially, our mortality, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So yeah, just, I think a huge part of my work is it's not just the techniques, it's really focusing on that perception aspect, our relationship with beauty, our relationship with how we're evolving, how we're aging. Yeah.
And I think that's hard for people too. I mean, and I'm not going to say I'm 100% separated from it. As I started to age, I was like, okay, but we embrace it, right? With some of the different techniques that we can use, like I said, and I find that as we age and start new decades and things like that, we become more in tune with ourselves too, to really go down those pathways and have a little bit more self care. Whereas when we're younger, we might not do that as much, right?
Yes, I agree. I will also say this, and this might sound a bit taboo or a little against the grain, which
Hmm.
is, and of course you can cut any of this out. um, but you know, I think what's really, really interesting is that, again, when it comes down to our relationship with beauty, with aging, if we have spent the majority of our years
Hmm.
focused on the idea that our attractiveness makes us valuable,
Mm,
if you're still doing that in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s, and you're not really doing the inner work, I don't think that wisdom just comes with age. I
right.
think it comes from really intentional, deep exploration of oneself, one's beliefs, and their ideas about aging and beauty and these various themes. So, yeah, I think, because I've met women in their 60s, in their 70s that are just desperate to be
Yeah.
30 again. And it's really
Right.
quite heartbreaking, because it's so much time wasted on something that's so unimportant. Nobody's going to care how you looked, or you're not definitely going to care how you looked on your deathbed. It, it,
Right.
it won't be relevant.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I want to, you had mentioned earlier, just kind of in your late 20s, as you were traveling, body dysmorphia, right? What can people, if there's somebody out there experiencing this, what can we do to really work with that and kind of go down that journey as well?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I would say that there are two main aspects that I felt were really, really, really helpful. One was essentially meta work, thinking about our thinking, really observing and dissecting ideas of conditioning, et cetera, et cetera. That's more of an intellectual part, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And then there's the actual somatic aspect, which is coming into yourself, connecting with yourself, noticing what you're holding and releasing.
Hmm.
You're probably familiar with, Van der Kolk, the book, The Body Keeps the Score.
Hmm.
Um, and the truth is I don't think that there's one straight line or one pathway for people with body dysmorphia, but I would say that there would definitely have to be those two parts, the somatic aspect, as well as that. Let me actually explore where these thought patterns, ideas, and beliefs about myself actually stem from. So, for
Yeah.
example, in my case, um, when I was a child,
Hmm.
mm, my father was mostly absent, but when he was around, he was very critical of my appearance. So I'm half Asian,
Right. Hmm.
and generally speaking, particularly in Southeast Asia, well, actually anywhere, China, Korea, Japan, few things are not considered attractive.
Hmm.
Freckles,
Mm.
moles, um, and
I would be in trouble, by the way.
right, yeah, 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 along with everybody else that has those things, and generally,
Right.
really fairer skin is what's considered more
I
attractive.
checked
So
all those boxes.
yeah. So, um, so from a really young age, I was very concerned about the way that I looked because my dad was
Mm,
often pointing out things about me. So it's obvious, that this is, in my particular case, where that stemmed from. Um,
right.
and there was also, you know, even in a way, in some ways from my mom, who, was in the fashion industry, looks was such a big thing. The way we present ourselves was such a huge thing. So there was a lot of
Right.
just criticism in general. And then at 12, when I ended up in foster care, um, the amount of trauma that kids experience in places like that, the
Mhm.
lack of love, the lack of being seen, and the constant feeling of needing to prove yourself that
Yeah.
you're enough for just basic survival can
Yeah.
really, make quite a mess in somebody's mind. So,
Mhm.
long story short, coming back to the whole body dysmorphia aspect, I really do think it comes down to exploring exploring the deeper aspects of yourself, understanding where these beliefs came from, understanding what your conditioning is. Maybe there's particular, circumstance or a trauma that ties into it, and then really
Mhm.
coming in and doing that somatic work.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and the other part I find too, when we think about, and it's not only just about aging and beauty even, but even when we think about other conditions or issues, and we'll focus on young women just because we're both women, but in early 20s we have a lot of disordered eating out there, right? This is another issue,
Huge.
right? And it's not going away either, right? It's been around forever. It's not going away. And there's a lot of that out there too. So, looking at that as a whole and again, kind of embracing that journey, I think is so important to evolve into having a deeper love for yourself, right? You have to
Yes.
love who you are,
Yeah.
right? So, and that's really important. Beauty practices.
Mhm.
So, I want to talk about. So, for those of you who follow me on Instagram, I hope you all do. If you don't, you better. Uh, I did an unboxing. And so I'm super excited because I was lucky enough to get the Holistic Facelift kit delivered to my office. And so I want to show everybody. So for those of you who didn't see my unboxing, we've got, so for cupping, right? So a lot of people do cupping, athletes, right? Chiros do that.
Mhm.
And for recovery, but we've got a couple of those here. I believe a couple for the lips maybe as well that are a
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
smaller,
yeah.
right? And then we've got rose hip oil, which I absolutely love rose hip
So
oil.
good.
And then obviously our brush. So
Mhm.
if you were to give me, what would be one thing that you'd want to bring to the show today and teach me how to do? What would that
Well, I
be?
prefer if you chose, actually,
Me?
because
Okay.
yeah, because that way I can kind of just do whatever you want, we can do.
I love it.
Should I share a little bit about the Holistic Face of Starter Kit?
I
Bit is
absolutely say yes.
okay. So I've got the
Tell us how to do this.
so this is what the package looks like that you received, just so you can kind of
Hmm.
get an idea. And I just want to say, the reason that I created the Holistic Face of Startup Kit is that so many of my clients are really, really, really busy. They're lawyers, they're
Mm,
doctors, they basically have no time. So the
yeah.
Holistic Face of Startup Kit, I created it in order to help women, people in general. Some men use it as well, generally
Yep.
more women.
My
Um,
husband's going to steal it. You know that,
yeah,
right? I'm going to have to buy another one. That's what's going to
yes.
happen in my house.
Listen, my husband face brushes all the time, and he also is using mine. I'm like, use your own. Um, anyway, so long story short, I created the kit essentially to give something to people that they can do easily at home.
Yeah.
And within the actual Holistic Face of Starter kit, it also comes with a video program. So it shows
Oh,
you. I don't know if
amazing.
you've got this card with you, right?
I
Yeah.
do. So we have the card.
Cool. And,
Absolutely.
and so basically, what that does is it gives you access to my online program, which goes over every single one of the tools in the kit. So that's
Nice.
face cups. So to be clear,
Mm-hmm.
just like because you were holding them up. So these are
Yes.
face cups. Just gonna
Mm-hmm.
show you real quick. Yeah. Nope, those are body
Those
cups.
are body cups.
So these
Okay,
are
hold on. Woo! I
yeah,
got
there we
them.
go. So these are
These,
face cups.
yes.
And these cups are incredible for stimulating collagen production, helping
Oh.
with deep lines. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
plumping up the skin, plumping the cheeks, as well as depuffing the entire face because we're working with the lymphatic system. So this
Love it.
entire kit is
Yep.
focused on stimulating lymphatic drainage. So that's the cups. We use these. These are
Mm-hmm.
the facial cups.
Mm-hmm.
These bad boys,
The
these
bigger ones.
yeah, these are actually
Mm-hmm.
used for cellulite, which we're not going to demonstrate today because I don't think anybody wants to be getting naked and showing
You guys
all
don't
of the
want to. You
parts.
guys don't want to see me do that.
Exactly. So these are actually incredible for cellulite. People are always shocked.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the face brush
Yep.
is incredible for, again, stimulating the lymphatic system, bringing instant radiance to the skin. Incredible for that. And it also helps with fine lines. But when we're talking about
Love it.
deeper expression lines and plumping the skin and getting that
Mhm.
sculpture and depuffing, it's the
Yep.
face brush. So
Okay.
in saying that, I should also mention in this program that comes with the kit, I also have a lymphatic facial massage where I'm teaching you how to use your hands as well.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't
So
wait to dive into this.
yeah. So what are something that you would like to work on? That might be a more fun way of us sort of jumping in.
You know what? Lip plump. I'm in. Like
Okay.
I've always had, this is my lips naturally. I've always had, kind of thin lips. Yeah, let's do it.
Amazing.
Teach
So
me,
I just want
sensei.
to say, especially with what's that?
I said, teach me, sensei.
Yes, you got it. So especially with thin lips, of course, some of us have thinner lips, some of us have thicker lips. But what happens to all of us is as we age, our mouth muscle, so our orbicularis oris, the upper lip tends to pull away from the nose. And over time, not just with aging process, but also with tensions, when we hold emotions,
Right.
we really use that mouth muscle. What happens over time is that mouth muscle will turn inwards. So it's not that our lips are actually thinner as we age, just that they appear thinner
Right.
because they're in there. So
Yep.
first thing that we're going to do for lips is you're going to use just a little bit of this rose hip oil. Okay. So
Okay.
get a little bit on there and you're going to
Got
put it
it.
on your lips and even just a little bit around. Okay.
Okay.
Now I'll show you just
Hold
two
on.
techniques for this. There's a few of them. I don't want to spend here too much time on this part. So there are two movements I'm going to show you.
Okay.
One is flashing. So flashing
Okay.
is when we suction the cup. So you're going to squeeze. We're
Mhm.
going to place it on our lips,
Mhm.
and then you're going to release that suction. And then pull it off. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And we're going to work through our entire mouth that way. So we'll start at the corners,
Okay.
do a suction, get the suction.
Look up.
There you go. Yep. You can't talk at the same time.
Right? I was trying to talk. I'm like, no, I can't. For those of us, everybody's watching on YouTube going, what is Lisa doing?
So we're going to do 3 flashes here. We're going to go 1, pull it off.
Okay.
2, so same spot. And then 3. So we're actually working each section 3 times. So we flash. That's what it's called, flashing. Yeah, 3 times. Beautiful.
Okay.
Look, you're a pro already. Center, yep.
This is so easy.
This is why I created it as a starter kit.
Right? I'm
Right?
in.
Super easy. And then, yeah, there you go.
Gotta do this.
And we just do that 3 times. Now, normally, you're doing okay. Normally, I suggest not using lipstick while you're
And I never wear lipstick, so we're good.
Perfect.
I'm good.
Okay, so that's the first bit. Okay. Now, what's great about these cups is you can actually spend more time there. We're just doing this real quick. You can spend as long as you'd like in the lip region. If it starts to feel a little sensitive, you pause. Okay. Now, the second bit of this is called a dynamic glide. So we're going to work along the ridges of your lip line. So imagine you remember that when we used to, I didn't really do it, but there was a good phase where we used the lip liner to kind of trace the outside of the lips.
I did that. For
you did.
sure I did. Of course I did. Right?
So what we're going to do
That was in my decade.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was aware of it. I just never ended up doing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach the cup by creating that suction. Just watch me for a sec.
Okay.
And then from here, I'm going to glide along the lip line.
Oh,
So we're
okay,
holding
I got
that
it.
suction the whole time. So use your small cup for this.
Oh, small one. Okay.
Baby cup. Yeah, there you go. So create the suction and then glide. Yes, beautiful. Now, this is also great for lip lines. What we often refer
I have those now.
lines. Yeah, it's common as we get older. Yeah. And you repeat that about 3 times minimum on each part of the lip. And then
Okay.
same thing on the upper side, on the upper lip.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm doing this very briefly, but again, usually when I'm doing my own flow, I'll hang out here for a little bit until I'm feeling that beautiful sensation of, can feel the
I
lips
love it. You
starting.
can actually feel your lip circulation increasing.
It's incredible.
It feels different. Oh my gosh, I can't. I'm going to be doing this. Everybody's going to be doing what is Lisa doing in her office? And I'm going to be like doing my lips while I should be working.
I love that. And what's beautiful about these cups as well, we haven't really gone into talking too much about tension. I
Mhm.
did mention though that as when we hold a lot in the mouth region, which a lot of us do, as the mouth muscle turns inwards,
Yep.
doing with these cups is we're actually helping that mouth muscle to pull back out. So we're releasing tension. Of course, stimulating a ton of blood circulation. Hence why you
Yeah.
really feel that sensation.
You can totally feel it.
Yeah.
My whole, yeah, my whole mouth area, lips, everything is like tingling,
It's
right? You
amazing.
can feel it. That's amazing. Yeah, I'm in. So, and so I can't wait to watch the video so I learn more about
Yeah.
how to do all the things. And we talk about tension because think about even in yoga tune-up. I remember years ago when I was getting certified in yoga tune-up, it was one of the things where even you're rolling and you have pain in other parts of the body and you're rolling it out, we were always like, relax your face. Because the first thing we do is we tense everything gets tense and it's all in our face. And I'm like, relax your face. You've got to work through the tension and release it, right? So this is coming at it from a totally different angle, but the same end result is, right, is that release
Yeah.
because that's what we do and we don't even realize it.
Yeah. And what's really cool about, we're talking about release. So
Hmm.
again, the whole is about lymphatic system, whether you're using the cups or your hands or the brush. So it's all centered around that. And what's
Hmm.
so cool about that, because we're talking about yoga and tension release, is we're directly also working with the parasympathetic nervous system. So that sense of calm or that sense of
Hmm.
anxiety, I should say, more so, really lessens and it really helps us with lymphatic drainage to help calm our nervous system. So there's the aesthetic benefit, and then there's the actual, I'm feeling a little bit more relaxed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? Everybody needs more of that these days because we are living in a fast forward world that is just, it's moving so quickly, right? We need to slow things down. Take that time for our self care, which a lot of people just don't do.
Yeah,
Well, and maybe don't do enough of.
absolutely. And I think it's just, there's constant distraction with, from social media,
Hmm.
news, and also we, especially in North America, are living in a hustle culture, right? So it's
Yeah.
go, 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 go. Like so many
Hmm.
people barely have 5 minutes just to even
Yeah.
think about anything outside of their responsibilities, their duties.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to hear something from you too, because I think you have an interesting take on. So, there are many people out there that fear aging, right? You talked about the fact that, 70, 80-year-olds, they want to look like they're 30 again because they want to rekindle that spirit of what they look like, right? And again, everybody's different. But there is something else attached to that too for fear. Do you wanna talk about that with regards to mortality and what people may fear there?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I actually think on an unconscious level, the fear of aging is really the fear of mortality, the
Mhm.
fear of the fact that it will one day come to an end. And I think that this
Yeah.
is something that probably most of us on an unconscious level are a little bit in denial about. It's something that we don't want to think about.
Mhm.
Um, and so this fear about the end of our life aging also ties into who are we?
Right.
And what is our purpose and what is valuable about us? What is going to sort of remain, you know?
Yes.
And the truth is that I think for most of us, unless you become, a Nobel prize winner or something like this, most of us, with the exception of our families, will
Mhm.
be forgotten. And and when I say forgotten, I don't mean it in a negative way. This is
Right,
just
right.
life.
Yep.
Right? We see animals live and they die. And so, I think that if we can really shift our relationship with what aging is and really empower ourselves to take real perspective of the shortness of life,
Yeah.
real like reality check. Actually, I had
Mhm.
a friend of mine who I also did an interview with a little while ago, Angela Paul. Are you familiar with Angela Paul?
I'm not.
Okay, so
You'll
she's
have to tell me. Yeah.
she's an author, she's a
Okay.
model. She's
Okay.
in her 70s. She also does face yoga. That's how we initially
Amazing.
connected.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she's amazing. You might want to have her on your podcast too. Um,
Absolutely.
she talked in our interview about what she calls her mortality meditation.
Oh,
And I just loved this concept because we really don't know how long we have.
right.
I've known so many people that didn't make it to my age.
Mhm.
And I don't want to say the typical thing, like it's a privilege to age. It's a privilege to age if you've been taking care of yourself,
Yes,
right? It's different if you're in a
absolutely.
body that's really not doing well.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say here is, and there's another person who I love, Bonnie. I think her name's Bonnie Ware. Are you familiar with her?
I've
She's
heard of her before.
yeah.
Yep.
So she talks about mortality all the time. She
Mhm.
was a palliative nurse, so she was literally beside people as they died for years.
Yeah.
And so she got all of these stories about people's regrets. And
Mm.
when I think about those stories, and I think about the time that we waste on hiding, on feeling insecure, on doing the things that we don't want to really be doing in life. Of course, there's responsibilities that we have to do, but
Right.
I'm talking about living a full life. There was this, share really briefly with you, this palliative doctor I met, actually is kind of jumping over to another story, but she told me about this gentleman it was his last days. They didn't know precisely when he was going to go. And he was really angry. And he was
Mm.
really getting angry with his kids and his wife. And so
Right.
they left the room and they said, "Can you go talk to him? I don't know what's going on, but he's not being very nice."
Mhm.
And she went in and he said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Well, I did everything right. I mean, I lived by the book. I paid my mortgage. I worked hard. I sent my kids to school. And all I wanted to do when I retired was travel. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to travel the
Yeah.
world. And I never got to." And then he died the next day. And that just sort of gives me goosebumps every time I tell that story,
Yeah.
because it's just a reminder of what is actually important. I always say, when
Mhm.
it comes to beauty specifically and aging, I say, if you take care of yourself mentally and physically, the health of your face is the beauty of your face. You don't need to worry about that. Focus on what's actually important. Focus on living, focus on showing up, focus on
Yeah.
following your interests and doing the things that you're actually interested in, and have some time for introspection. Because when we're
Yeah.
going from one fast thing to another, whether it's your thoughts or the world out there,
Mhm.
it doesn't really give us a moment to do true introspective work of what this life is really about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And to be consumed by something so superficial like our
Mhm.
looks, or being afraid of aging, which is essentially just living,
Yeah.
um, it's just an unnecessary burden. And if anybody understands the challenge of it, I mean, I spent years hiding, years not leaving the apartment, because I was petrified that I just wasn't attractive enough, or that somebody would see me, that I knew it. There was all this funky stuff to it. Now we're just
Yeah.
talking about beauty here, but this ties into so many other aspects of life.
Absolutely.
And so that's sort of my take on things when it comes to mortality.
Well, and so important, and I always I always think about, like, with the story you shared, live today the way you wanna live every day, right? Don't leave anything on the table. If there's something you wanna do, do it, right? Or put it into the plan that's sooner than later. I find a lot of times people will say, "Yeah, I wanna do that, in 10 years when I retire, I'll be able to do all these things." And then that's the person that's it, right? That ends up and you're just like, "Oh my gosh." Right? So don't wait.
You're
That's what I'm
not
trying to say.
guaranteed. You're not
And
guaranteed.
yeah, and I mean, you don't have to do everything at the same time, but
No,
maybe at least have a plan to
no
do
one. Yes.
1 or 2 things, and then, a couple years later, you do another one, and, just try and check some of those things off your list.
Yeah, and getting really clear about what your priorities are, right? Because I
Yeah.
think often we get confused with responsibilities and the things that we feel like we have to do versus the things that in our lives are going to make an actual difference.
Yep.
Um, and so that's kind of huge about making that evaluation. It's not always easy. It's not always easy.
Absolutely not.
Sometimes it
Yeah.
means letting go of things that felt very safe,
Yep.
and that can be really scary for people.
Well, and that takes me down the road of another. I do like to say often, you know, every day I like to do at least one thing that takes me out of my comfort zone because it expands me personally as a person. Right. And I remember, we launched another show, some of the people that I've trained and and hosting a show. And they were saying, oh, tell us, one interesting thing about you that maybe somebody doesn't know that our audience might like. And I said, I remember when I was a child in preliminary school, and we used to always have to get up every year and we would have a specific topic that we would write a speech on. And it didn't have to be long, maybe 5 minutes, whatever. And we would have to read it in front of not the whole school, but like our class and maybe another class. So there was a number of kids and teachers and what have you. And you were on stage. And I was always absolutely petrified to do that, right? I did figure skate from a very young age, so I was used to being in front of people, but not talking. And what I realized as I got older, not even in my 20s, but maybe kind of mid 20s on, like late 20s on, something like that. Then I realized that I had messages to share. And I thought, what? Like, I can't be afraid of this anymore because now I have things to say. And now, I mean, I've had all the podcasts, the trade, like now we do it all, right? So it's just so funny of how we evolve as a human, right? To be able to think about sharing that message. And I mean, everybody has their own story, right?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm just getting goosebumps and a little bit emotional hearing you say this. First of all, feeling for that child self that was, nervous, and then you
Hmm.
evolved into this beautiful woman doing all of the things, and it's so fascinating to me. It kind of reminds me a little bit. Share this very brief story, which was I mentioned how a lot of my body dysmorphia got in the way of me just leaving the house.
Yep.
And of course, it tied into other things as well, just not feeling enough. And when I first got called on to breakfast television, I
Hmm.
was this close to asking them to reschedule or to
Yep.
even saying no. Even though it was something that I had written down on my manifestation board, they called me. It was kind of a bit of a freakish situation, very
Hmm.
cool. But I was this close. I went from not being able to leave my house because I was not enough to doing hilarious face yoga, funny faces on national television. Like, it's kind of crazy how these things happen. And I feel like
Yep.
it almost feels like a bit of a setup. It almost feels like, you know, you go through this stuff in order to become this person. I mean, I'm kind of, you know, not really into magical thinking so much, but I just think that that is a really interesting thing because so many people I've spoken with that, have really taken self-ownership and self-responsibility very seriously.
Yep.
These stories are very common. These kinds of
Absolutely.
themes,
Mm.
right? It's wonderful. It's beautiful. And
Yep.
I'm so happy to hear that was your journey.
Yep. Well, and I think it's part of, overcoming fear doesn't stop. Right? This doesn't stop, and it's not gonna stop. I'm gonna have something that I'm fearful of tomorrow or the next day or the weekend after or in December or whatever,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have to overcome that, but that's what makes us strong and wise so that we can teach the next generations and share with them these experiences so that they realize that, life maybe not be as scary as they think it is.
Yes, yes. And you know what? My biggest hope for the future for women, not in general for the future, there's other hopes in there as well. But particularly for women, one of my biggest hopes, and especially with the work that I'm doing, is to take the obsession with and the fear around not being good enough, not being
Mm,
attractive enough, and just taking it right out of their heads because it's something that we shouldn't have to think about. And of course,
exactly.
because we're women, we've had so much conditioning. But imagine for all the young women, I mean, there are 10-year-old girls and 12-year-old girls, my clients are telling me, that are asking their moms already for retinol and filler and Botox. What
Yep.
is happening?
I know. I know.
And
I just
right?
Yep.
And from my experience with how much that consumed me, can I just say, I told you I was starting a podcast. I'm starting it.
Mhm.
Hopefully it's going to launch in September. But when I first went to Southeast Asia,
Mhm.
I had this idea that I wanted to create a show. This has actually been a 20-year-old dream, more than that. I went to school,
Oh,
for journalism. I was like, I'm going to do this thing. And,
mhm.
went with my camera. I was going to film a bunch of people and interview and all of this stuff. And what happened was that fear of not, every time I saw myself on camera, it was just, I couldn't handle it. So what
Right.
happened? Well, 20 years later, Sophia's finally doing her podcast.
I love
I
it.
mean, it's great that it's
Love
happening
it.
now, but can you imagine if we didn't have these fears as young women, these tremendous insecurities, how much young girls would feel free to just chase their dreams and show up and just live and just
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's amazing. Well, I'm excited. So you have to let us know when it launches so we
I
can
will.
share. That
Yes.
amazing. Amazing. And so I know that, okay, the kit. We talked about the kit.
Mhm.
I showed you how to use it, everybody, and I just
Just the lips.
dipped my toe in the puddle barely,
Yes.
right? Like, so my question, so we'll let everybody know where to get this and talk about how to work with you, but I have a question.
Mhm.
What's the next stage? Is there more?
Yes. Yes.
I'm like, there has to be more.
Yeah, of course there's
Tell us
more.
about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. So the starter kit is meant as that. It's meant as a starter kit.
Yep.
You work with it for 8 weeks. You see the
Okay.
changes. It also comes with a schedule, so it keeps it super simple. For people like
Ooh.
me that have ADHD, I need to be told what to
I need a
do
schedule.
today,
Yes.
right?
I'll be
Okay, so
downloading
you
that
feel
for
me?
sure.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so this is something I developed actually only 2 years ago. And again, this
Oh, wow.
focuses on the lymphatic system.
Yep.
Now, the other work I focus on also works with the fascia
Mm-hmm.
as well as our facial muscles.
Okay.
So let me briefly talk about the facial muscles and face yoga, and then a little bit about fascial work, facial massage, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I teach all of these things, and I'm actually launching my certification program in October. Yeah, so
Oh,
really
that's
excited about that.
exciting.
Yeah, so
Very cool.
I'm essentially training people to become holistic facelift method coaches, so they can
Amazing.
teach what I'm teaching. Long story short, let's talk about face yoga first, because that was my very initial training.
Mm-hmm.
So I got certified back in 2017, long time ago
Mm-hmm.
now. Face yoga, in short, is a form of facial exercise. So just like we take care of the muscles of our body by going to
Mm-hmm.
the gym, by practicing yoga, etc., face yoga takes care of the muscles of the face. So we've got 43 muscles in the face. Some of them we use all the time habitually, right?
Mm-hmm.
While others tend to lay lazy. So a really good example. Have you ever caught yourself furrowing your brow while you're scrolling the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, really, really common. So this is a good example of the muscles that we use all of the time. Another really good example is your occipitofrontalis muscle, your
Mm-hmm.
forehead, from constantly lifting. Again, that's how I
Right.
first found face yoga, about all these deep lines.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the muscles that tend to, another good one, jaw tension, constantly clenching. Another muscle that's always being used, right? Majority of people have jaw tension these days,
Yep.
TMJD. So face yoga combines resistance exercises to strengthen and tone the muscles that tend to lay lazy, right? Nobody's smiling for 24/7. No,
True.
people are furrowing for like 12 hours a day, but they don't smile 12 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
So we use releasing exercises for the muscles that are being habitually used all the time, mostly unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're using releasing exercises. And this is where we get into fascia and facial massage, lymphatic stimulation, cupping, etc., to release that tension from the muscles and the fascia. Now,
Nice.
fascia is really a key part when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to taking care of your face. Why? So fascia is one beautiful piece of connective tissue that is
Mm-hmm.
connected just below your skin, and it wraps around through your entire body, including your face, holding all of your muscles and organs and bones in place. So when there is tension in the fascia, particularly in the region of the chest, of the
Mm-hmm.
neck, of the
Yep.
shoulders, of the scalp, as well as the upper back, what it does is it pulls on the fascia of the face. So, for example, if somebody's in constant forward head posture, they develop the dowager's hump, maybe they see a
Mm-hmm.
little double chin in this region, we really begin to see that pulling in this region. So we will see sagging along the jawline. We will see the upper lids begin to dip. This
Mm.
is because the fascia of the surrounding region. So think of your facial expressions or features as micro,
Yep.
and then
Mm-hmm.
the scalp, the neck, the chest, the shoulders is the macro regions. And what's happening is when there's tension here, it's pulling. So it can pull downward on the face, creating double chin, sagging around the jawline. It can pull
Mm-hmm.
down into the fascia of the eyelids. And it can also morph our features by pulling on them, morphing them, creating asymmetry. So let's say
Oh.
we've got a lot of tension in our jaw and there's a lot of tension around the fascia of the masseter that can
Mm-hmm.
quite literally pull our face and create asymmetry in the region of the cheeks, the mouth, the nose, the eyes.
Wow.
So fascia is really, really key for taking care of your face holistically.
Mm-hmm.
So with my work, I'm combining face yoga, so that's facial exercise,
Mm-hmm.
fascia work, which is essentially facial massage or fascial massage.
Mm-hmm.
I do intraoral work where we go inside the mouth to release tension from the
Oh.
inside out. Yeah. And then I also combine acupressure.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we've already talked about the cupping and the face brushing.
Yeah, yeah.
So the holistic facelift method is really a combination of all of these various techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when you're working with the face, I think about it like working with the body. You're not going to just do resistance exercises.
Right.
It will be great that you're doing resistance exercises and that you're strengthening. But
Mm-hmm.
without that stretch aspect, we're going to have all kinds of tension and pulls in all kinds of funky ways, and it will create asymmetry in the body.
Yeah.
So what do? We practice resistance exercise. We do maybe a little Pilates, little yoga. We do
Mm-hmm.
stretching. We
Mm-hmm.
never just do the resistance exercise. We also need cardio health. So thinking about all these things in tandem, hence me creating a holistic facelift method that really does incorporate all the most effective techniques holistically to care for your face.
That is amazing. And I have to add,
Mhm.
you are 100% correct because, and probably even people listening are like, oh, well, I go to the gym and lift weights and I get on the treadmill and then I never stretch.
Mhm.
And athletes know you have to spend as much time stretching out the muscles that you've worked as you do working them.
Yes, yes. And it's so funny, especially when it comes to the face, when we start doing fascial work where we don't use, any product and we're actually trying to create pull through the
Hmm.
fascia. People are always always scared. Oh my gosh, am I stretching my skin? Actually, when we start manipulating the fascia in that way, we're actually stimulating collagen production.
Yep.
So it's quite the opposite. But it's funny how people's perception of what stretching means. They think it means
Yeah.
stretching the skin. So yeah, really
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah, I can understand that. And yeah, but no, it doesn't does not do that. Oh, well, that was amazing. Sophia, thank you so much for being on the show today. It just invaluable information. So we're going to have all your links at the Holistic Facelift is your handle on Instagram. Same on TikTok. You're on Pinterest, Facebook, all the platforms. And so tell people though how they can work with you, kind of in person. You're in Toronto, obviously. So in person, is there a special way for them to get in touch with you? Do they just hit your website? How do they find
Yeah, yeah,
you?
yeah. So you can shoot me an email at info at the Holistic Facelift or Sophia at the Holistic Facelift. And so predominantly my one-on-one sessions I do
Hmm.
online. And the
Hmm.
reason is because people have that recorded session so they can always come back to it.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's such a good point. Okay.
My in-person workshops are sometimes public. For the most part, they're private. So I'm hired on by
Mm,
places like Boulevard Club, Granite Club, Royal Canadian Yacht Club, or
nice.
studios, essentially. Now,
Hmm.
I do also host online workshops.
Hmm.
So that's for public as well. And you can find those if you subscribe again to my website, theholisticfacelift.com. There's actually a little free Face Yoga 101 workshop that I've created. So you can
Love it.
go ahead and sign up for that. It'll
Hmm.
subscribe you and give you all of the updates for my upcoming workshops. Um, and then if you're somebody who wants to have me over to their house for a private function, that's also something that I can do. Or that I do. So those are essentially the ways that you can connect with me. And I just want to say, even though, when I work one-on-one, essentially what I'm doing is I'm creating a customized routine for someone's face. So you can think of me almost
Mm-hmm.
as like a fitness trainer for your
Yep.
face. But I will
We have trainers for our body. Why not our face?
yeah,
It's part of our body,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yep.
So, when I'm working one-on-one, I'm really focusing on creating a program that is simple for somebody to really follow
Mm-hmm.
along and start getting the benefits, and really get the results they're looking for. But there's also this beautiful, somatic aspect that we've sort of touched on a
Yeah.
little bit before, and the kind of healing that can actually come from this work is quite incredible because, again, when we're doing this work, we're connecting with the lymphatic system. We're
Mm-hmm.
connecting with the vagus nerve. So
Yep.
again, there's this aspect of grounding. So I've actually recently more and more been having a lot of people come to me specifically for that aspect as well, that calming the nervous system through simple facial massage. For people that have a lot of jaw tension, it's huge because we're
Yeah.
constantly stressed all the time. So just
Right. Right.
simply working with these muscles is incredible to really kind of not just help you look better, which is
Mm-hmm.
just what's going to happen. It's a symptom of doing the work,
Mm-hmm.
but helping you genuinely feel better, feel calmer, and over time, also potentially shifting your perception about yourself, your
Yeah.
beauty, and your aging journey.
I love it. I love it. Well, for those of you watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, share it with your fans, share it with everybody. Make sure you give this episode a thumbs up if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast host. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you give this episode a like. And Sophia, again, thanks for being with us today, sharing all the information. And I can't wait to dive into everything. And I'll keep you up to date, everybody, about, I got a little next work to do here. So I'll keep you up to date on how that goes and show you some before and after pictures too. So thanks for joining us. And for those of you here watching, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining us today on the Human Optimization Podcast. Episode technical production is by Grace Sylvester and guest booking by Stu Tate. Want to learn more? Visit Pitel-Killah.com for incredible free resources to supercharge your journey to becoming the best version of you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to the Human Optimization Podcast and follow me on social media at Lisa Pitel-Killah.